Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, antitheism, antireligionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudo-history, pseudo-morality, things that are found in religion. I support realism, axiology, of course, liberty, justice, ethics. I am also an anarchist socialist. I support anarchism and socialism, progressivism, liberalism, philosophy, psychology, archaeology, and anthropology, advocating for sexual, gender, child, secular, LGBTQIA+, race, class rights, and equality. So if you can guess from all that, I support or challenge that I have an eclectic variety of videos on a variety of topics. Please take time to check them out, as well as if you enjoy them, please give them a like. And don't forget to subscribe, as new things are on their way all the time for my channel.
Yeah. How's your 2 weeks been?
Yeah, it's been good.
Good.
I was gonna do something last week, but the guy decided to. Yeah, there's stuff going on. But
Yeah.
it's not for me. It's not a desire to have to do something.
Right.
I'd go 6 months and not do videos. It doesn't really I mean, some people do it for all kinds of reasons. Me, I just do it for my passion in the sense,
Right.
or what I feel is important. And that's why I really appreciate and take time to do the anarchism stuff, because in my past I have spent so much of my effort on atheism
Right.
and humanism and not enough on something that really does matter to me also, which is my anarchism and my socialism. And I
Yeah.
also I think it's important too that what we're doing, together in this is blending the two together, because really it's not like it's an opposite.
Right.
And certainly it would be wrong for an anarchist to believe that they can understand society and not understand all the societies. That would be very ethnocentric.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think that all you need as an anarchist is to understand is history of Europe is extremely ethnocentric and almost bordering on racism.
Yeah, that's definitely problematic, right?
Right. Well, people always like, oh, Damien, why do I need to learn about totemism? Like, yeah, why learn about a whole bunch of people that are indigenous? Fuck indigenous, right? Wrong.
Wrong.
Because how can you say you're a humanist and have that opinion?
Yeah.
I really. So, to be like, some people go, well, oh, why do you mix atheism with other stuff? And I go, oh, see, I already corrected you a long time ago. I told you I'm an axiological atheist. Axiology is the starting point, not atheism.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and an axiological atheism is very different than, in a sense, just a standard atheist for a whole bunch of reasons. But one of the biggest things is it is impossible for you to be an axiological atheist and not anti-theist.
Right. Okay.
Because in an axiological term, those two go together. Because, in other words, axiological assumption of God is, for a theist, is that God is good.
Right.
Axiological assumption for an agnostic, and I'm only talking about in the axiological, which is the valuing of things. You couldn't know if a God is real or not, or Satan, or so. And I'm not talking about belief, but just about the value. You wouldn't know the value because if you don't understand these terms or something, so you're neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that God would be rejected because you can't assess value to something you don't have any assessment of.
Right.
So it would still be almost like the axiological atheism, which is definitely more. It takes a stronger stance, not just I don't think it's there, so I won't assume its value. It goes, oh no, I know that what you're offering is false. Thus, what you're offering is, in a sense, a harm to actual value.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've added pseudo value, like pseudoscience.
Right.
Right, yeah. And pseudo morality. Like I always try to tell people that morality, and that's very important for the totemism, is morality. Because, in a sense, totemism is a major shift towards the morality we have, in a sense, most Europeans have today. Sort of like, what I mean by that is, the kind of like it's mixed sort of with culture and religion. It's not really, it's like a quasi something. It's not like a clean. I mean, people, when they think of their own morality, of course, it's on this gilded,
Of
bridge,
course.
The arch of freedom, and it leads to this great land, this superstitious, Anyways, it's absolute horseshit because most people, how they do their moral thinking is simply emotional.
Right.
That's it. It's not fucking. They want to give it all these labels and shit. But most of the time it's just emotional. But anyways, I really want to address that. What the show is, we're the Atheist-Humanist-Leftist Revolutionaries, and we basically talk about all different subjects, but almost always are going to relate it to socialism and anarchism. And people understand, to me, they always go the same together, socialism and anarchism.
Yeah.
In a sense, because I think that anarchism is the rejection of hierarchies in just a general sense.
Yeah.
Especially, I always think of this without justification. They're against hierarchies without justification.
Yeah, like...
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
And something at the top cannot justify itself just because it says it's on the top.
Right.
In other words, a thing cannot justify itself by just simply saying, "Well, I'm empowered, so that's I have the right to power," or whatever. That's wrong.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up a little bit with it because when adding that without justification is very important because there's the various situations and things where somebody needs to take charge a little bit and lead, but like parents with children. Sort of thing. But also people can use bad justifications for bad hierarchies. So
people constantly do.
Yeah, you got to be careful too, right? Like we have to add it in there, but we got to be careful.
First off, here's like I always say, like a meme. Just because I put half of my idea down that's expressible in a short thing does not mean like that's somehow the only idea.
Right.
That thing is floating in space and not actually a web of all kinds of ideas.
Yeah.
Which is why I say I don't understand how anarchism is not automatically some form of socialism.
Yeah.
That doesn't. I mean, I know you're an anarcho-communist. I'm sort of like all over the place, but definitely socialist.
Right.
And definitely not an individualist. So I mean, anyways, my point is though, I don't see how anything, to me, once it becomes purely individualist, I feel like it starts losing anarchism.
Yeah.
Because anarchism to me is not, to me, that only I matter.
Right. Right.
I think it is, for me, I feel like people get this confusion. Like that's why I have this and I have that. No. I feel it's the realization that I matter and other people's are a bunch of I's.
Therefore,
and therefore we all would matter, and
Yeah.
we're all actually needing each other. So my mutualism kicks in. Well, then we should probably do this positive, beneficial thing that actually does help, the whole.
yeah.
I mean, just
In
I just feel like those are just two like logical. I mean,
Yep.
how you can go from it only make me matter and I'm going to take everything I can and fuck everyone else, and this is somehow the rational thing. And imagine if all of us did this. That's why people don't understand
Right.
the moral things. When you say something moral, what you really mean is not like God given. You really mean it's how we should behave in a social environment with others.
Right. So it's universal.
It's universal.
Everybody should act this way.
Well, and this is what's funny is even animals understand this. Even what do you teach your cat ethics?
Right.
Really, I mean, how do they know not to shit on the damn carpet in the middle of the thing? Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like the dog. Why do they feel shame and guilt? They certainly do, and we certainly, they do things and they know they've done something wrong or whatever. I mean, it's not this thought that religion gave this, or even like in totemism, we're going to talk about. That somehow totemism, by adding structure and by making some things sacred and profane, that somehow that's what made order happen in the world.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and let's just say that the culture behavior of something did do that. Okay. But the problem would always still be that totemism thinks it's magical. That somewhere in this scheme of logical jumps is magic.
Right.
And that's where, to me, no. This is what I have against all religion, is that this lie that there is supernatural fucking anything.
Yep. Yeah. I can understand how in the past people had to assign like magical thinking to a lot of phenomenon.
Hold on a second. You said had to.
Well, did.
Chose to.
Chose to.
Chose
Yeah.
to. Did is also correct, probably.
Yeah.
Did, but I saw that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Has
But
to. Whoa.
right. Yeah.
Have to.
Nobody
Idiot.
forced them to.
Yeah. Well, no, someone may have forced them, so I don't know about that. But I meant have to is then. I don't want that to sound like you mean like religion is this natural thing that we just have to do.
Right. Yeah.
It's not.
It's not. But also, like, now, like, as science develops and has developed, we have more and more natural explanations for things that previously had, like you say, supernatural explanations. So, one could even, like, I guess we all were atheists, right? So, as a result of science and knowing that natural explanations exist for a variety of things that we used to think supernatural explanations were explained, now we know that we can extrapolate that, right? We can say, okay, so that other thing that I thought was magical before probably has a natural explanation that can be explained through science.
Well, I know what's really crazy is Christians think that somehow they have the same Christianity as 2,000 years ago, which is to me absolutely ludicrous, because Christians 2,000 years ago would have thought lightning had definitely had some magical shit or all kinds of stuff, magical things, all kinds of stuff. Christians nowadays, they don't, probably not so much, probably not at all. I mean, you know what I'm saying? As far as I'm not magical thinking in general, but I mean about specific things that, like, more animistic or whatever, or more totemistic behaviors. Now they don't probably put blood on an altar, right, and burn it, what
Right.
they used to do, what Jews used to. That'd be more traditional, certainly. I mean, God loved burnt offerings, the smell of the fat and everything. Yeah, I love the smell of the fat burning. Actually, personally myself, but
Yeah.
there's nothing magical about it.
No, that's right. That's just because I'm hungry.
Yeah, get in my belly.
Yeah.
But so it's the adding of the magic that really is the offensive thing. Worse than that, it's not even that they always talk about beliefs. I believe. Yeah, that's why they're killing people for stuff because you believe it. I mean, so it's way beyond beliefs.
Yeah,
I mean, it's now become like this crusade and that you have to do all these behaviors with, and that's same like totemism. Totemism doesn't exist in a sense by itself. It's always connected to other things, but totemism is certainly a type of thinking and behavior. It's a behavior and a thinking. So it's a thinking in the sense that there's this thing called clan.
Mm-hmm.
This is before DNA in a sense. They don't know this stuff. They just know those people seem similar, or they're just going to say they are, or whatever.
Right. They have some reason, but yeah.
Right. So it says clan. To me, almost always when you hear the word clan, it has, even if these people don't realize it, a previous kind of more totemistic thinking, because the idea of this type of clan is a totemist type of thinking. Like an animist, we read the animist. They don't sound like that. The other thing too is that animists sound like anarchism. Mm-hmm. Socialism too, but definitely majorly anarchism. But once you start getting into totemism, boy, it's a lot harder to find anything close to anarchism.
Okay.
It starts sounding a hell of a lot. I mean, it could still be a form of socialism. That's why I wanted to clarify that. Even though I personally think they go together, it's not both ways. Socialism often is without anarchism, but anarchism should not be without socialism.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree with that for sure.
Well, personally. That's Damien's viewpoint. And that's all I want to say. But a lot of the ideas that I express, I'm trying to take a lot of learning that I've done for years and years and years on topics that most people don't really relate to maybe ever. Or they hear it and it sounds funny. Or like the totemism. They always think totem poles.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody made totem poles. And that's kind of like, just think of that as like the clan lineage. Like if it stands in the center of town, it's a story. It's not just a bunch of birds or whatever.
Right.
It's like a story, and like it's almost like, say, the Bible. It's like a written thing that says the clan, is related to this and these things. I can't remember the whole thing about the totem poles exactly, but because there's also different ones. Sometimes they can be in the center of town, but sometimes they can be related to the whole clan. Sometimes they can be like a temple, like in front of the temple, or a couple of them. And there could be almost like male and female, or different deities,
right,
or different clan leaders, or
depending on the belief structure of the region.
There you go.
Right?
Because of course, totemism isn't a like organized religion. It's like a type of thinking and behavior that started, I think, about 50,000 years ago, breaking off of animism in Europe. The reason why, me personally, and you're going to read a little bit of stuff, but the Orcanations, you're going to read it wrong. I probably read it wrong. But it sounds, I really read, and it sounds almost like an O instead of an A.
Okay.
So I was like, I never would have got that. But I'm not super. So there's some hard words. And the one for the Neanderthals, I probably, it's like almost French. I wouldn't be able to pronounce it well anyways. But so archaeologists make all these really complicated, hard terms. But in a sense, Orcanations, and there's several different ones I think you're going to read. Okay, about the because I can't remember what I sent you, but about totemism, but in Europe I'm talking about. But there's several different ones. So there's Champanola, or whatever it's called. I don't know. It's the Neanderthal, and some of the archaeologists think that was influenced by humans.
Okay.
I think it could have been, or could have been vice versa, a little bit both ways. I think that they always think that it's all or nothing. It's like, yeah, really? Is that always how things go generally? Nah, not really. Even conquering things still keeps some of the old bullshit. So
yeah.
I think society, if you look at history, I think when we think things are too extreme, I think that's not how it generally works. Even when like Catholicism took over, Mexico, it still kept some of the ancient beliefs.
Right.
Like the Day of the Dead. That's nothing to do with Catholicism. You know, I think it's cool looking skulls and stuff. But I'm just saying,
Right.
so but I'm saying, so the thought that it's always a clean transfer one way, it could have been, but I don't buy that. I think generally it's more of a little bit of a give and take, and in reality, but that's still my assumption. So I always try to make sure that I state this, because there are things that I know as facts, and there's things that I think reasonably, or I think are reasonable from a logical jump from the facts, what it would look like.
Right.
So I think it's real important. I think this is where people get confused that don't know, say, prehistory stuff and about pseudoscience people or pseudo-history or whatever, and someone trying to genuinely give you real history. If they sound confident and never sound like they're doubting anything, boy, that's me.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're just, they got doctorates and freaking, they're talking from, tons of facts and okay, but generally, I'm just saying. So, in general, if a person is never giving some sort of a level of, that's why to me, I also have a level of confidence for some things. Like some things seem super reasonable. Some things seem possible, but I don't know. And I also try to vary that so that you don't get that when you say belief, it shouldn't be 100%, 100%, 100%. What the hell?
Right.
Whoa, that right there, I would immediately go back to pseudo history again or something. If you're that so, and I've heard TV shows often talk like this. They'll talk in facts, like they saw the crocodile, and after seeing the crocodile, the fear they had produced the desire to make it a god. How in the fuck do you know that?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, what you could say, this is what I was saying, that to me, that they don't, the regular people hear that and they would think, oh, Davey, what's wrong with that? And they don't hear how I hear it. I heard fucking bullshit because you just passed shit off that wasn't true. You don't know. Now, if I said it my way, I would say the people came and they saw the alligator. My assumption is that it brought a lot of fear, especially if it ate people. Because nowadays, I would try to add, that thing like knowledge of today, because there's already like, geographical information on how many attacks of alligators in a given area, and then thinking, because there is like, say, 300 attacks of alligators a year, and the population today seems terrified as hell of alligators. The thought that when they got there and people were being eaten, these things would not seem super powerful, and thus possibly,
right.
That's why they have an alligator god.
Right. Yeah. Like, here's the reasons that I think they were afraid, and here's the reasons I think they drew that to,
In a sense, so then they go, Damien, you're saying the same stuff there. No, I'm not. You get my point?
Yeah, absolutely.
But some people, they hear both, and they're like, they both sound the same. Like, you're not paying attention, then I feel. But so that's why I want to talk about totemism. I'm going to talk about some stuff, and I'm trying to also, like I said, I'm giving you like the highlights of the Cliff Notes. So this is, and it's complicated. Biggest reason, because you're doing it still. There's totemism still in all religions, and practically, in other words, except animism.
It's a good thing I've got my backup recording going, because I forgot to hit the record button on the StreamYard already.
Oh, you did?
But I have my backup, so I'll splice them together. Yeah.
Getting me nervous?
Shit, eh?
You're like, oh yeah, all that was gone. So hey.
Yeah. Oh, nah, that was a waste.
Cory goes, but I feel like I'm getting a little more acquainted with this.
Yeah. Oh, we're good. That's why I do backup recordings.
Right on. So go ahead and tell us about your stuff and your show, because it's not just about me, it's about you, and I want people to not just come and see my stuff and just feel like this is just all about me. I really care about the input that Cory provides.
Sure. I've got my main show is The Mind of a Skeptical Leftist. I do interviews. I do book reviews with my friend Justin. I take questions about anarchism and I try to explain them. And I do some reading from anarchist texts, and pamphlets and just anarchist sources. So try to spread a little bit of critical thinking, a little bit of like progressive values, and left-wing philosophy. So that's the Mind of a Skeptical Leftist on podcast apps and YouTube.
Right on. And I really appreciate your help, and I also if you, when we're doing all these things, because like we talked about animism last time, and I'm sure you're getting a little more acquainted with that, and I have you read every time also. So by the end, you're gonna get better at it. And anyone listening also will keep hearing the repetitive, because you need to hear the progression. I'm not giving you this just for some non-reason. You need to understand all religion today, organized religion, are like Legos that have been stacked up. And you have atomism, and then you put totemism and shamanism, and then paganism, and then you have organized religion. And then now they're even trying to advance on top of that, making them world religions in a sense. I mean,
right.
That's a new sort of thing. And it wasn't, even though they did expansion, it wasn't like millions of people, like it is now. For some. So I think that you understand that, you start to see the elements in them. To me, the goal is for you to not believe me, but for you yourself to start to understand religion so much you see the elements of humanness in it, that it's impossible to think of it as, you see it so human and how it went together that you're like, oh, that's just impossible.
This is so clearly just a thing people did.
Yeah, it's just culture. That's why I try to say, and people get mad. I go, it's just a cultural product. If you really understand everything I explain, and you have any reason at all, you will start to come to this conclusion all on your own. I don't even have to tell you. Like, I don't have to. I'm just basically present the information. I kind of go to a conclusion at the end, but I feel like it's not even that's so important. It's just I basically attack faith and I show you the facts, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I believe now. I mean, because to me, it's like after you remove faith and you understand exactly how all this happened, how the hell can you believe this shit? Seriously.
Yeah.
Even if you're doubting, would you still keep doubting? Because you'd be like, damn, man. Oh, look at there's animism. Oh, they're doing totemism again. And they don't understand when they do stuff that, like, say, baptism is really the belief that water is magical.
Right.
Put somebody in water and something magical.
Yeah, it's so weird, actually. It's not just that the water's magical; it's that you have magical problems that you have as of being born, and now the magic water takes those problems away.
And you die and then are resurrected. But see, if you understand the Sami religion, which the Christians was like, oh, you have no, those fools are, they're shamanism, paganism, whatever. Oh yeah, well, they have this belief that the water is the underworld. So anything that goes in the water is thus dying.
Right.
And if you came back, you would be born again.
Right. That's interesting.
That's why they have boat barrels, float them out the water, and the Norse did that too, right? They're copying the Sami. Right. And then, of course, that gets to German paganism, which, of course, gets to the Christians. And, of course, Christians do a lot of pagan stuff and lie about it.
Of course, yeah.
The favorite Christian pastime, I think. Do pagan shit and just go, yeah, that's ours. Or, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not even pagan.
That's not pagan. What are you talking about? Yeah. So I guess we can start, eh?
Yeah.
Might as well. So I've got development of the idea of primitive communism is seen in how Engels offered the first detailed elaboration upon that of primitive communism in 1884 with the publication of The Origin of the Family, Private Property and the State. Engels categorized primitive communist societies into two phases: the quote-unquote wild hunter-gatherer phase that lacked permanent superstructure and had close relationships with the natural world, and the quote-unquote barbarian phase, which was structured.
I really don't. I don't like those terms. Do you?
No, not really.
I mean, no.
I get that he was writing this in the 19th century, but
But I think it's good to, and I sometimes one person told me that's white guilt. I'm like, you know what? If that's white guilt or whatever you want to call it, you should feel some guilt because that's a fucked up way to talk about people.
Yeah, that's right.
Barbarian and shit. But here's another things too that really I can't remember now, but no, go ahead because I was thinking no, they're not. Go ahead.
Okay, no, sounds good.
Well,
So
if I don't know sure about something, and then I'm like, wait a minute.
I better not say it. Yeah, fair. Okay, so and the quote unquote barbarian phase, which was structured like the populations in ancient Germany beyond the borders of the Roman Empire and the indigenous peoples of North America before the colonization by Europeans. Marx and Engels used the term more broadly than later Marxists and applied it to not only hunter-gatherers but also to some subsistence agricultural communities. There is also no agreement among later scholars, including Marxists, on the historical extent or longevity of primitive communism. Marx and Engels also noted how capitalist accumulation latched itself onto the social organizations of primitive communism.
So I would say that if you're talking about Germany, southern Germany, I would say looks like it lost communism 7,000 years ago.
Okay.
Where they started people being killed, and then after that, you have that same area. You have the first sort of like lineage burials where they're burying from family lineage, like your son's, whatever. They're doing like, and then they're also accumulating. That's the same area, just a little bit less. There's the first accumulation of what they consider wealth in Europe, in a sense, like money, like because they're putting like same sizes of things. It's all in that southern Germany area. So I'm just saying about Germany. I think definitely is not the epicenter of. It's an interesting thought, huh? Germany is fascism. Certainly is not the epicenter of or the great homeland forever of the European socialism. I guarantee that.
Right.
So those it was actually outside of that, because that little hub area to me is where it expands from and over, then goes into Ukraine and all that. But it expands out and then down and then jumps into Spain, and then Spain comes back up. Anyways, but so it really starts though, I think here, I have a feeling that the funeral culture is like that same area, and the funeral culture I think relates to the Sami and the people that came from China through Siberia.
Okay.
And so I think it's these new people coming in because they're the ones that later you have all these, like the Beaker people. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's at 3,500, but they go in and take over all of like England and stuff.
Okay.
And they bring another form of Celt.
Interesting.
There already was Celt in there from they got first shot in, I think at 6,000 or something, and then later at 3,000 or something like that. It was 5,000 and 3,000, but anyways, it's something like that. But Celt came in more than one time.
Okay.
Into Europe and all that. I mean, not Europe, but England and Ireland. Well, for sure, England. Maybe I shouldn't talk about Ireland. I'm sure it came in.
Okay.
I believe it might have jumped to Ireland, but I know for sure it hit England. Two different forms. So I don't know how that bled over to exactly to. It did go, but can't remember. But anyway, so the fact that people don't realize like how culture went, and the Celts were definitely, people may have romantic views about them being super, like, I guess, egalitarian or something, but they weren't.
Right.
So they were just because, in other words, just because they're not as sexist as say like the Romans doesn't make them somehow
right appropriately egalitarian. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's like saying, well, for sure, to me personally, as an American, being in America and then visiting Canada, if I had to choose a place to live, and
yeah,
I would probably choose Canada over fucking America. because of living in America, it's actually does not feel as good as it feels to live in Canada, or at least to visit Canada. I don't know what it feels to live there, but I'm just saying
it's okay.
I'm not. Well, here's what I was trying to say though. That doesn't mean I'm pro Canada and I want to end anarchism or some shit.
Yeah. No, exactly. Canada's still a capitalist country, so
right. So that's why I think you have to understand that just because something is a little better, that doesn't make it. But go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. All right, where was I? Marx and Engels used the term more broadly than Marxists did later. Oh, yeah, I already read that one. For instance, in Private Correspondence, the same year that The Origin of the Family was published, Engels attacked European colonialism, describing the Dutch regime in Java directly organizing agricultural production and profiting from it, on the basis of the old communistic village communities. He added that cases like the Dutch East Indies, British India, and the Russian Empire showed how today primitive communism furnishes the finest and broadest bases of exploitation.
Yeah, well, I don't like I said, I don't like when they call it primitive, anyways.
Yeah,
because I mean, if you're just saying that, that's like saying, imagine, just think about that in general, a caring behavior being called primitive. Damien is primitive. Why is that? Well, damn, he supports kindness. What the hell's wrong?
Yeah, it seems a little
primitive.
Yeah, seems incorrect to call it that.
Yeah, so that's why I really feel that it sometimes I don't think that the thinkers were trying to be racist or bigoted or
right.
But I think the problem is they were in such a world where that was so normal. It's hard to think outside of that. Just like people living in capitalism thinking they're capitalists. Like, oh, you own things? Like, oh, actually, I don't even own my own car. You're not a capitalist.
Yeah, you don't have private property that you're using as capital to
Dude, you're a consumer or you're a laborer of the capitalist.
You're almost definitely just a worker.
Right. Right. But the fact that the people don't even understand that, it's
Yeah.
Which
like, I guess there's the distinction some people make that there's different levels of worker classes, like the what is it? The permanent managerial class, or the petty bourgeois, like small business owners, stuff like that. So there's different types of workers, but the capitalists are still like the multi-billion-dollar companies at this point.
Well, what I really hate about capitalism too is this is an interesting statement they always say. Capitalism is not moral, right? Because I always make it that you should do a moral system.
Right.
Well, this is why I always go, I don't argue freaking economics. They go, oh, it doesn't make money. I don't give a fuck.
The end. Yep.
Okay. I believe if you're telling me that it has to be an immoral system for us to make money, then we shouldn't be making money.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't. So that's the first thought, is that capitalism is a joke because it says that. Like, I always think it too. They always believe in business ethics, except any kind of care about how you run the worker, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's right.
That part,
or where you get resources. Yeah.
There's no thought of that. Or they say dumb shit like, I try to treat them like I would treat myself. Oh, that is such utter bullcrap.
Then why don't they have a living wage? Look, come on.
And that goes back to the point. It's not even that I wouldn't start being happy if you treated people like you just said, living wage. Why is it that capitalists are not happy with just being like above everybody? They want to be like to the moon. Right?
Yeah, they insist on flying into space, While some of us are starving.
They want to be on the moon or whatever in fucking space. Yeah. I mean, that's what's so disgusting. And what's even crazier is that we can't, as a society, just see how disgusting that is.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's fucked up.
Here's a person going to space, and we have people in our supposed good society that we allow to live on the streets and people to go without food. What the fuck?
Yeah. No, it doesn't make any sense.
We have overabundance beyond belief, and yet people are allowed to starve. It's like I shared a meme that says, that it's not illegal, or it is illegal to squat in an abandoned house. But it's not illegal to let someone freeze to death on the street because you don't want people to squat in abandoned houses.
Yeah, that's right.
That's legal.
Yeah.
Death. How is that more of a crime, not morally more a crime, to allow someone to die than to squat in a fucking house? Fucking let them all squat. Good. I'm from the thing that asks for bread. If they don't give you bread, steal the fucking bread.
Take it. Yep.
What the fuck?
Yep.
If society decides that it cannot, supply for you, then fuck society.
Well,
that's not a just society.
No, me and my partner were just talking about this the other day because we're having some trouble with the government claiming that we owe them money, even though our income was like less than half of what it was the year before. And so from a personal perspective, we're like actively being like, well, why the fuck should we even pay taxes? Like, why am I even filing my income tax if they're just going to screw me over? And when society does that to you over and over and over and over again, like people who are in the poorest income brackets, like they just like, why don't, of course they're going to not give a shit about the rules of society because society doesn't give a shit about them and they shouldn't have to care about the rules.
I'm just saying that I don't think it's civilized to let people die in this.
It isn't. Yeah. No, that's right.
To me, it fucking isn't. I don't care if you say they have a drug addiction. I don't care if you say they're insane or what. You should help people.
Yes.
What the fuck? Think of this. There's a natural disaster, but the paramedics only go out and ask everybody, "Are you insane? Are you a drug addict? Are you a person of faith? I mean, do you not see the moral blight that would be? That's why I always I hate talking morality to most people because I just can't understand how can the fuck you not get this? Why do you act as if it's so fucking complicated? Yes, you can add all kinds of layers of extra stuff.
Sure.
Don't tell me this basic shit does not make sense.
Yeah, that's right. It's like when you say people should have a right to clean drinking water. And somebody says, well, how much is it going to cost to give them all that? I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care.
For a while, I can't remember. I think it was till 90s or something, or 2000. I can't remember exactly. But I don't know if it was all of Ireland or just parts of Ireland or something like that. I can't remember. But it was like the water was free or it was super cheap. It was and the whole point is, just think, Rome gave free water. And we fucking today complain that we like what you said. It's like society that you think, well, that's the beginning of greatness. Yeah. You know what they did in their greatness? They gave shit for free.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody had clean water.
The Coliseum games, it was free.
There you go. Yeah.
How much the baths cost? Oh, they were free.
Of course it was free. It makes sense.
No, but what wasn't free was the concession stands. Those fucking bastards have always charged. Even in Pompeii is the oldest little concessions. Okay, how about this? I don't know for a fact that they charged, but there is a concession stand. So
yeah,
I guess I should take it back. Who knows? They could have been giving that shit.
It could have been giving it for free. Yeah.
I don't know that. So I need to check myself. Damien, do you really know they were charging for that?
It seems reasonable to assume. Yeah, no, but we don't know for sure.
Like, well, a lot of stuff is free. I don't know. I better watch that. But anyways, I think that it's just I just find it disgusting to have power and have strength and foods and then not help the weak and the starving. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Like I told you, I don't even want to hear a reason why.
We like I just was there's a video going around on Twitter, I think, of a guy who works at Dunkin' Donuts, and he was showing how many donuts they throw out at the end of every day.
Oh, I saw that. It's
disgusting. And we live in a society where we're literally throwing hundreds of pounds of food away, thousands of pounds of food away every day across our two countries. And there are people who are hungry.
It's immoral.
It's fucked. It's absolutely fucked. That's all I can say about it, really.
Yeah, I'm a mutualist, man. I cannot stand not working together.
Yeah.
I just see it as beneficial for all of us. Anything, it also just think, let's just say that you and me only benefit each other. But you know what? When we do that, we actually build well-being for us. We know what then we can be more well for other people who need well-being. Because a lot of people are really suffering. So it's not, an action is not somehow you drop a rock and it just disappears. It's like, hit the pond and the doom, 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 doom. Because if you're doing better, then you know what? You might treat your spouse better, and then your kids better, and they're going to go to school and they're going to treat the teacher better, and the teacher's going to be able to go home and treat that person and that kid or that. I mean, it's just
And there's evidence for that. Like you don't have to just take our word for it. There's evidence for the fact that when people are doing better, they treat the people around them better. There's high rates of domestic abuse in poorer communities because they're suffering, they're struggling, they're stressed right out. Like there's reasons that this happens. And as those people's lives improve, domestic abuse gets smaller and smaller.
Well, I told you, I know that they did a study where they gave people money.
Right.
But the goal was to see like how much impact, like they know if you give counseling, people get better. Okay. Well, is it just counseling, or does really, if we give people money, how much better? Because some people say like poverty, because this goes to the point, like poverty actually is harm.
Right.
So they want to say, is poverty harm? Like, what would be a direct way to say is give people money or not money? I mean, that's, do you have money or not? That certainly is the one.
Yeah.
Simple. So does that simple of have money now? Because I heard this asshole on the TV, which I won't mention a name, but on the news, fucking asshole talking about, well, is the reason people aren't working because of our psychology or because we're not getting enough pay? It's our psychology. And I thought, yeah.
You're an asshole.
Our psychology, which is like out of the air, our psychology plugged up, like just out of nowhere. It's our psychology. Yeah, not the environment that created this toxic fucking psychology for me to live with experience, and then now I'm experiencing. Yeah. I just like,
what do people think psychology is?
The psychology response of child abuse is not well-being. So child abuse is the problem, not just the later response, right?
Yep. You got to actually get to the root of the problem.
But they don't want to because people, it's like with capitalism, people don't want to look at how it's a moral system.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what's so funny too? This goes back to the moral system of the immoral system of capitalism. Excuse me. And people go, oh no, that's too much, Damien. It's not even a moral system. Now you're calling it an immoral one? Sure it is. Aren't the lower workers immoral compared to the great workers? To the leaders? To the CEO of the company? Aren't they somehow more moral? Don't they get away with more immorality? If they do more immoral things, aren't they allowed to somehow be washed clean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really the worker at the bottom, the one cleaning toilets, if they do the same thing that, I don't know what, say cheating on the company, embezzlement, or
Oh yeah.
they stay, right? Like the top people do, they still stay, right? Always. Oh, and but they also leave with their bonus, always.
They, if they're prosecuted at all, they might pay a fine, which when you're rich doesn't mean anything.
Right, but they still sometimes get a bonus. Like people complain, like with the Wall Street thing, all these guys are getting bonuses after the government just gave them bailout. What the? But they don't get. That's what this whole fucking scam is about.
Yep.
Like, when did you think it was anything to give a shit about the poor? It's been fleecing the poor the whole time.
Yep. You cannot have rich people without poor people.
And even if you could, they will always go to the poor people and benefit off their poverty.
Yeah.
Meaning that, let's just say Cory's not, as we would say, poor. Well, Cory won't take low jobs, right? And if everybody's like Cory, right, not poor, no one takes low jobs. Guess what you have to do to those jobs? Besides that guy's belief in psychology, the psychology of the employer will be, hey, if I don't fucking pay more, nobody fucking comes.
Yep.
So the psychology of the employer changes because of the environment.
Weird. That's weird.
Yeah, but that's a person who is not, I guess, read anything about psychology. I happen to have a psychology degree, a bachelor's. So when I started 7 classes in my master's, of course, I practically aced everything and was seen as a genius, like by the teachers.
Nice.
Like second day of critical thinking class, the teacher says, you need to get your doctorate.
Nice.
He goes, dude, you corrected me on critical thinking on something I've been saying for, I don't know, years and years and years. And you're right. It's wrong. No one's ever said that. He's like, dude, you're so gifted. But anyways.
That's awesome.
But also what it made me realize, like I told you before, that when you have a great power and you are a good person, you don't go, oh, fuck, it's time to use this shit like Donald Trump, right? Go out there and fucking take advantage of as many fucking fools as possible. You know?
Yeah.
No, a good person doesn't do that. What I did is went, oh, God, that means I need to help people. If I have this ability and I'm able to think, then I really need to apply this to help others.
Yeah.
And so I bet that's generally like you did too, right? That's why I said it's servant leaders, but it's not like I try to put myself in this position so I could, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like, I guess, I think we might have mentioned this in a previous show, is that like the idea of a leader isn't necessarily somebody who wants power over others. It's somebody who wants to do well for their community. So,
well, and I generally see it as someone who does something worth valuing.
mm-hmm,
Like it's behavior. Like I said, a good person. I know what a good person does. They do beneficial things that are positive. You know, so as soon as it's not, what do you mean by good?
Yeah, exactly.
So go ahead.
Yeah, we might as well keep going here. Where was I? One of the first writers to espouse a belief in the primitive communism of the past was the Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca, who stated how happy was the primitive age when the bounties of nature lay in common. They held all nature in common, which gave them secure possession of the public wealth. Because of this, he believed that such primitive societies were the richest, as there was no poverty. Other Greco-Roman writers that believed in a prehistoric humanity that practiced communism include Diodorus Siculus, Virgil, and Ovid. Due to the strong evidence of an egalitarian society, lack of hierarchy, and a lack of economic inequality, historian Murray Bookchin has argued that Chattahoochee?
I think it's Chattahoochee.
Chattahoochee?
It means sort of like belly hill.
Okay.
And Hoyok, in a sense, is a hill that's man-made. It's like a tell is another end of words, like You'll have, or like Tepe, Göbekli Tepe. It's referring to, in archaeological terms or whatever, it's like the dirt hills that humans make.
Okay.
Or they call it levels of cultivation or culture, or, whatever.
Okay. We're around 9,000 years old was an early example of anarcho-communism, and so an example of primitive communism in a proto-city. It has been argued that in the Indus Valley civilization is an example of a primitive communist society due to its perceived lack of conflict and social hierarchies. Others argue...
Well, I want to address both those things, well, especially Çatalhöyük. I know way more about that. But so Çatalhöyük, I think, starts different than it ends.
Okay.
I think there's I think new ideas come in because if you look at their wall art, they show interaction between two different colored people. Like they have like almost black people, and then they have white people, and then they have half black and half white.
Okay.
And, that could be also that all of them are brown, and in a sense, or black. There are some that are tan too, just so you know. So there's tan, darker black, and then whiter white, and then some mixing of in between.
Nice.
So, I mean, so I just wanted to say that so people understand that I don't think that it's just one culture at Çatalhöyük. In a sense, one culture. Right. So even though when we see it, in a sense, you get my point. We see it from now. We just see like the whole map, but that doesn't mean that. The map at one shot.
Right.
So, I think that Çatalhöyük evolved, and I think new people came in or new ideas. One of the things I think that is new is I think that the pottery is connected to the Asian cultures.
Okay.
So, and they were coming in with heavier totemism and shamanism, hitting paganism. Because to me, the early paganism is what kind of Çatalhöyük was, sort of. And then it gets hit with this shamanism, totemism.
Okay.
Looks like to me a lot of totemism, sort of hunting or like messing with animals, sort of, and for power, probably like magical. Even we would just look at it as like being mean, but they. But so because sometimes the totem animal, and then there's wearing of totem pelts, like the
right.
They're wearing leopard and stuff, which at first was the black people wearing it, or at least in the art. I'm not talking about that I know any, I'm just like the art. Who knows what they really look like? I don't know. Because someone said before that maybe the colors represented what they think of the people. I don't know. That's again.
Could be.
It doesn't seem like that to me because it seems pretty reasonable when these people mix if they have half babies and there are half people where they're half one color, half another color. I mean,
right.
I'm thinking. And then, of course, some of them are starting to wear the same clothes. I'm thinking, it looks like to me they're saying different cultures came and kind of like
mixed together.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's just my first point. There's facts. I do know that there was a couple different DNAs, and I do know that there was a couple different ideas. So, to me, it starts out equalitarian, sort of, and it's more shamanistic paganism, and totemism kind of comes later, I think, but it relates to the pottery, and it's not, I don't think, 100% equal because there's different like houses of like almost like temples for the shamans, but burial houses, like say 100 and something people are buried, or 50 people, or 30 people, or 10, or whatever. But there's different areas that are sacred, and then there's different levels of where the same people live. So it's like shaman, thousands of years. I mean, this is, they know, or whatever. So I mean, generations, boom, 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 and they rebuild the house on top, and they have leopards here, and then leopards here, and then leopards here. Well, then the chick is buried with a leopard claw, Anyway, so you get like it's not just that they're doing this, but their religion is somewhat close this whole time. It's very, very, you know, but then towards the end, there's definitely a change. Number one is that there's an 8,000-year-old event of, I can't remember if it was a dry cold but some, ecological event happened. I can't remember now why, but
Okay.
the climate change. So it's known as like now climate change. Let's just make it simpler. So 8,000 years ago, there's this climate change event that fucks up climate. So they have to deal with this, and they know that they were dealing because they can trick the residues of the pots were changing what they're eating and stuff, and they're like, I think they had to boil bones more or something, or I can't remember. So I don't want to claim I remember exactly, but I know they can tell. So I can't remember exactly what stuff it was, but details. But general thing was that they can tell by the pots that they were getting hungrier, that things were changing. And there also at the same time is people getting whacked in the head right at the end of Chadwick. So I have a feeling that there was resources got low and someone tried to be king, or another culture came in and it was their culture, because I have a feeling the people from China might have brought this over, but Germany also could have. But Germany might be related to China, so it's hard to tell. But what I'm saying, because these people move around, so the DNA, I'm just saying.
For sure.
I'm not talking about like the countries now. I'm talking about prehistorically, the movement of people, what they were doing. So, but I do know that Chadwick starts doing this, where they did not do this before. All of a sudden, there's like 98 people, something cracked in the head.
Okay.
Huh. So it's not one-off.
Right. It's a regular thing.
That's what I'm trying to get you. The point is something is totally different.
Right.
Right about 8,000. And I told you about 7,000 is the first massacres.
Right.
But even like there's an art I have. It's a ritual. So were they killed? Yes. And they were the one I have a picture of is a foreign culture that was in, I think, Germany maybe, and it was killed, and so they were foreigners, but it was a bird wing in there, in the grave, in the mass grave, and there's pots of stuff like you're sending them off in a religious, ceremony.
Right.
But so I do think that massacres were connected to religion. And some of that to me is connected to like offerings and stuff and sacrifices, to totemistic type of thinking. Because in shamanism, it would make, not shamanism, but that too, but it's about healing mainly, or possession for healing and sickness or whatever, or seeing the future and that kind of stuff. But kind of stuff. But totemism is more about the clan and more about like how the group does stuff. But they're definitely doing that. Like I said, Chadwick, I don't think it's correct to say it always was. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah.
Like, let's just say that you say it's communism. I like to say socialism because I don't know exactly what their expression of it was. Exactly. I do know it wasn't totally equal. Children got grain. Women ate, in a sense, mainly domestic animals. Men ate mainly wild ones.
Okay, interesting.
So, I mean, I guess everyone's eating. Nobody was, but it wasn't totally equal in that kind of sense. But eventually, like I said, everything kind of starts changing right at the end, the climate event, and with a different seeming like leader or somebody trying to take over or something. Because somebody is cracking people in the head, and they think that it could be that someone's doing it as a behavior. I do know that later, cracking in the head, especially even some of those people were killed with cracking in the head by beating with bats. I think that the idea from bats kind of like hitting could already be in Europe, but I have this feeling that it might have come along from the Siberians, like, hitting seals.
Okay, yeah.
Right? I'm just saying.
Could be.
Just saying, they already have these sacred bats for their sacred things. And then we do know there's a 5,000-year-old bat over in, I think it's Ukraine or maybe it's near Germany. Or it's Poland, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyways, but it's 5,500 years old. But I have but that area was getting the people from the north. So it's kind of hard. That's why I think it's easy to say that I know that we're kind of the area of where things are, but exactly like who, what,
Right.
I think it's harder. Just like I do think it's hard to figure out like Indo-European languages. Everybody say it happens in Ukraine with the Yama or whatever, but the Yama didn't invent language. Funny that the people that were before the Yama, the horse riders, come from China,
Mm-hmm.
from by way of Siberia, and those people in Siberia were already, in a sense, or somewhere almost at the same time, 7,000 years ago, where supposedly the Yama, Indo-European is the Uralic, all the whole north.
Okay.
The whole north is Uralic, and then Indo-European in the south. And then the East was its own thing. But I think related to this still. I personally think actually that the Chinese stuff is related to these ones here. Because the people came. So just my thought. They show up and have a language, but they came from there, and there has a language also about 7,000.
It's going to mix,
languages.
right?
There's a language of the Proto-Indo-European, the Proto-Uralic, and this other one, the Yaram, whatever it is in China, North China, also happened at about 7,000 years ago.
Okay.
And I do know the movement of people's moving around. So about 7,000 years ago. But so I'm not sure if because definitely where more totemism came from China. Because it was more pagan farmer, and then totemism, shamanism comes in. Boom. And then it becomes where you get like Nordic, which is pagan, shaman, totem.
Okay.
So it's this kind of, that's why it's kind of like this weird Nordic, is because it is a mix of, in a sense, these strong influences that refuse to be infused.
Right.
What I mean by that is they want to stay strong. They want to stay totemistic. They want to stay shamanistic. And they're okay to stay paganistic in a sense.
Right.
You get my point. Where, like, say, the Catholics supposedly want to try to lose the paganism or hide it. They don't want to admit that it's still shamanism.
Right. Right.
Or in the sense of the Norse, we're like, yeah, of course it's totemism. Yeah, in a sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead and keep reading.
Okay, I guess there was only one line left in that paragraph. It says, others argue that such an assessment of the Indus Valley civilization is not correct. So,
and I don't have enough skill with that to know how to claim about that. But I'll take the scholar's word for it.
Sure.
But I do think that it could be right to say that some parts, at least my own knowledge, that's all I'm talking about. They disagree, but I'll just say things that would make me think it's possible to some amount. I do know they had, like, once again, like running water. I do know that they did try to make roads. I know they did try to make walls, cities, and for protection and stuff to help people. So, and as far as I know, they weren't charging. They were doing this to ensure the whole wealth of the community, sort of.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
I just that's why I'm saying, like I said, I don't like to talk about strong if I really don't know. I know a lot, but there's some stuff that I don't have as much confidence. I do find it odd to say there isn't any when there's a couple things I know. Like, well, they did do a lot of stuff for free though, that like help.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I guess, like you say, it depends on how you define these terms in some ways, right?
That's definitely a fact. Well, I definitely don't listen to anyone that write what they call communism.
Yeah, no.
Anything it's not as far right as they are is a communist. Yeah.
I just had a conversation this last week with a guy who said his boss putting up video cameras on their work site is communism. So there's many people who don't know what this means. Yeah. Yeah, fuck. Okay. So we also have, let's see, we got another section here. So Damien is asking us to ask the question, did Neanderthals help inspire totemism? Because there is art dating around 65,000 years ago in Spain. The question is...
But I don't know if I added there because you tell me if it did. So the Max Planck Institute, as far as I remember, they're the ones that said that that's a fact.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not written here, but
another institute or someone else, a couple people like totally were pissed and said that cannot be possible and tried to claim otherwise.
Okay.
I've heard both arguments. Sorry, I think that it did happen. The reason why is because they try to claim that this one piece is younger. And I'm thinking, yeah, and it's a bunch of splattered stuff. Of course, different pieces are going to be different ages. Like,
naturally.
So but I'm not claiming that I fully understand maybe the research because I did skim it. So I'm not claiming, but I'm just saying from myself, the thing, and I did hear one of the guys talk because I wanted to hear because I had actually made art. I was pissed because I had art was going to go in my book.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was pissed. So, but you know what? Unlike Christians, I will update myself.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Or things that become so questionable, I go, better not put it in. Because I'm not trying to somehow start some new propaganda or
right.
I feel like that people, what's the harm of these pseudoscientists saying that aliens built I don't know, like destroying the credibility of truth itself?
Well,
what the hell is wrong with that?
Also, saying that aliens built this stuff is often very racist. So,
well, yeah, because it assumes that the regular people couldn't do it, or or humans somehow it lacked the inability to do it.
Yeah. So actually, you did have a portion here that says the question is that one lab challenged the results of the first lab, so the evidence is in question, but it was looking more like we could have learned some things. And then some religious, spiritual, supernatural thinking. It could have involved artistic themes. In question, it stays as elusive as before to some current knowledge level that is only supported in a loose way. So,
yeah. So I feel like the Max Planck Institute stuff, those people are generally like on the money.
Right.
Someone would say they're not, I think is great because it shows these people that are the highest can get challenged.
Yeah.
I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Got to hold everybody accountable, right?
I just wasn't convinced by the counter argument to me.
That's fair.
But like I said, also, I do admit I did not read the whole freaking thing. So,
okay. That all said about Neanderthals, it is more uncertainty than with humans with a greater amount of evidence.
I'm talking about totemism there.
Yeah.
The greater amount of evidence. I do think that it's possible they were making, it looks like, necklaces out or something to hold eagle talons.
Okay.
In a string or something.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
For what reason? Do we know they wore it on their body? Did they hang it from a spear? I mean,
yeah, what was the reason?
What did they? I mean, hanging on their ears, wrap it around their head. I don't put it in their mouth. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean about when sometimes I watch shows and they're saying, well, they wore this jewelry. Well, that is a likely possibility, but we have to see, once again, jewelry is a mental concept we have created. They may not have saw it as jewelry, as you're saying. They may have saw it as, this sacred thing. So they put it in their mouth. That's all I was saying, is that somehow, or put it somewhere else.
Well, yeah, it's like, it's similar to, I guess, like we've been discussing, in various cultures, they all have various ways of decorating their bodies, but they don't see it the same way that modern westernized capitalist culture sees it, right?
Exactly. So that's why I think we need to first off see things as, like I said, but we already do. This is I always get irritated, but we do. You think water's magical, so let's get baptism. So you get it. I don't need to explain. Don't act like this is strange.
Yeah,
you get it totally because you still doesn't fire when you light a candle. That's fire worship, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah, you're symbolically, well, not so symbolically, eating the body and blood of Christ. So
exactly. I mean, the whole thing is so they do get it. They do, but that's what I'm saying about is this lie, especially like seeing everything as primitive. That's why I don't like when they say like Damien, you classify religion as this is first, then this. Yeah, I'm saying about time, not like as in animism is less than Christians or something.
Not in hierarchical form. Yeah, I'm not placing the value of this one above this one.
No, because what I say is once animism happened, they all are animism. You just mean animism plus, you're Christian. So when I see Christian, I see animism, totemism, shamanism, paganism, organized religion, Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all that. And if you don't think so, like I was just explaining, look at those behaviors. The fact that you think that water could be magical in a sense is an animistic thinking. The fact that you think that going under and stuff, then you're getting to a shamanistic thinking. The fact of underworlds and where you'll still come back to life, and that's all shamanistic thinking. Because they do that. They do soul travels and they do that, right? That's what they do. That's and then later things do it. Well, that's what our priest does, or that's what our guru does. Yeah, okay. So he's still practicing the shamanism. Got it.
Right.
I mean, got it. Go ahead.
Okay, where was I? That all said, Neanderthals is more uncertainty with humans. Greater amount of evidence seems to express totemism as seen in Europe 50,000 years ago, and mainly the Aurignacian culture.
I would say Orcanation, but I know that's wrong. Whatever. Put it this way, it's the thing that people call Cro-Magnons.
Okay.
Cro-Magnon would be a European modern human in a sense.
Okay.
First European modern humans would be Cro-Magnons. I don't like that because it's already acting like somehow they're different than humans in Africa. Culturally different, maybe genetically they're starting to change, but I mean, they're the same fucking humans. Like, what the fuck? They moved a little bit, and now they're on the globe, and now they're different humans. Oh shit, that's stupid as fuck. Look, if you look, imagine if you're on the moon watching the human go like this, and they can go a few thousand miles and call itself different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyways, there's variations, but come on, dude, it's ridiculous. But so, anyways, so the thing that the Orcanation culture is why I think the problem with Cro-Magnon, I don't even like that. I don't like it because I feel like it's limiting Europe from the rest of the world. And what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I just don't like that in general. There's stuff in Indonesia that was happening right before Europe. So, I mean.
Yeah, it's
what the fucking. Anyways, I don't like the ethnocentric shit. And you already know I'm an anti-classist, so I just try to move all that bull crap. Let's get to the facts.
Yeah.
So the facts are that this stuff is happening. That's. but this is why. Okay, so for me, this is my own personal thought of why I think could have inspired this more. Is when the Orcanation culture goes in from Africa, in a sense, it goes from Israel into Turkey, into Greece or the Balkans, and then it's going further into Europe.
Right.
But it kind of branches several ways. Boom, 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 and that to me is why I think. And then they kind of come back together, sort of, because they're like hunter-gatherers, like you said, they're traveling long distances. So they're almost interacting, but they're sort of staying separate, but they're kind of interacting. And I think that, and then they're also interacting with Neanderthals, and some are interacting with Desovians or Decennivians, or whatever. So, in sort of like the edge of Europe, Asia, going into Asia, like Siberian caves and stuff. So, I think in general, as they're spreading out, humans, because 45,000 years ago they're already in Siberia. So humans are. So they're spreading out, not as a unified group.
Okay.
Imagine you're in Africa and you're in a sense, and you go to Israel. You're kind of this unified group. You all have this sort of animistic thinking, is what my opinion is. So you all have this animistic thinking, and you're still animism. You're leaving. You go into the Balkans, still animism, because you really haven't met anybody, and you really haven't broke and had lots of years separate to invent different
new things. Yeah.
Yeah. And different experiences you have to adapt. So they also change because of that too. Because different climates, different things, different altitudes. I mean, all of a sudden you got different people, man. And all kinds of things are different. Just by, even if they all started the same, they just because you need different clothing, different, So, but they all spread out different ways. And so, because they call them different things. And I don't know if it's there for you to read, I'm not sure. But there's like early organization and I think proto-organization and arcane organization and then organization. That, I think, is why one of the reasons I think totemism occurs. Because all of a sudden you have these multiple pushes from, Israel, Africa, in a sense, Balkans and into Europe, and they're not connected. And then when they interact, they are, like I was saying, sometimes staying kind of far apart. They interact. They start making totemism.
Okay.
Because they realize, even though I think that's like us, that's not us, in a sense. I don't know it for a fact, but I'm just saying that there is. So go ahead and keep reading. That's my thought on that.
Okay, so Damien thinks that the pre-organization Chattel-Peronian, sure, Western European, mainly Spain and France, which is a possible transitional / or cultural diffusion between Neanderthals and humans around 50,000 to 40,000 years ago, should likely be added to the emergence of totemism. It is also likely humans shared their new expanded totemistic thinking back to the Neanderthals. Damien thinks ideas went both ways to some extent or another. That sounds reasonable to me. I
mentioned that because both seem to do, just so people know too, it's not like I'm just making it up once again. They're doing different stuff. They kind of come together and both of them become more advanced. So you tell me. I mean,
right.
And the archaeologists, at least the stuff that I've read, they think that humans gave the culture to them. That's all. And I'm thinking, that's not generally how shit works. It's so one-sided like that. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. It could have been. Even in the artifacts, it's not like Neanderthals were dumbasses, before we showed up.
Right.
It's not like they didn't have any kind of ornaments or any. I mean, so yeah,
they had stuff going on.
Yeah, I just find that they get more advanced ornaments or seem to be doing it more. Yeah, I definitely think that shows, but I do think that so did the humans, right?
Right.
I mean, humans went from almost nothing where the Neanderthals were doing something. Humans are doing nothing and then advance, and then Neanderthals advance also. You're sure it's only one way?
Yeah, right, eh?
Anyways.
Yeah, it seems a little bit it's like little myopic, I guess, is what I would call that.
I think it's too human centric. It's centric, too much. It's too much valuing of humans and still thinking. But also, it's not like all archaeologists are up on Neanderthals, and I'm not saying that everyone agrees too. Neanderthal stuff, believe me, when it comes to archaeologists, is like contested as shit. You would think it's like totally not. Oh shit! There's ones that think they did nothing; they're just dumb brutes, and there's ones that think that they, invented human culture. I mean, almost. I mean, there's everything in between. But mainly, most of them think the negative, that they didn't do much.
Okay, interesting.
So I think it's sort of changing, though. It seems to me that there's starting to be more people. But I'm just letting you know that I don't want people to think that I'm talking like it, that all archaeologists are going to be like, hell yeah, Damien. They're going to be some probably going, no, they didn't.
Right.
Shit. Humans gave them everything. Like,
okay. Sure.
Cool story.
All right. Damien thinks that the archaic Aurignacian / proto-Aurignacian humans around in Europe around 46,000 to 35,000 and Aurignacian in the classic or early to late humans in Europe and other areas about around 38,000 to 26,000 years ago should be added to the emergence of totemism. Totemism is approximately a 50,000-year-old belief system and belief in spirit-filled life and or an afterlife that can be attached or expressed in things or objects. So if you believe like this, regardless of your faith, to Damien, you are a hidden totemist.
Yes.
But,
And that's my point. Do you see what I'm saying? That, and also that's
Yeah.
why when some people say totemism isn't a religion, totemism is always part of religion.
Right.
So let me get that fucking clarified.
Why are you carrying a cross on your neck?
Yeah. But it is true to say that totemism may be by itself, as you think of it, just like even then, right? So then, at that time, when it starts, it isn't. So there was this too. Okay, for help. There's no such thing as totemism without animism. To make it, I know sometimes you
to
can
make it perfectly.
to make it well, because the books don't always make it totally clear about this, because maybe they don't grasp how I understand it. But so totemism has to believe that this thing is representing a spirit. Well, if you don't believe in spirits, how the hell are you making this thing?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're just saying that it's a mythical, not really believed sort of a cultural thing. But even though originally it probably was believed. Come on. I mean, maybe you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess some things can be not, but I mean, I find it that okay, but how most people do it today often is religious. So what is the point? But
yeah.
But so when I'm saying totemism, then they had totemism and they had animism. And then when shamanism come along, it's not like that they were no longer totemists. No, they just became totemist, animist, shamanist. Now the difference is, especially with shamanism, the emphasis on a lot of shamanism is not totemism, but animism. The totemism is down, like lower. The animism is higher. Now, but not all. There's some shamans that are warrior shamans. Thus, the totem is higher because they usually embody their totem animal doing this.
Okay.
Totemism is generally about control and power. You know, non-anarchism shit.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting to think of it like one leads into the other. That doesn't eliminate the existence of the previous thing, right?
You have got to grasp that, and when you do, all of a sudden religion, like the Matrix, is so freaking easy. You'll be like, holy shit, I get it now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll finish with this and then we can continue a little bit of so Damien also ponders other places the roots of totemism could be linked, such as totemism may be older, as there is evidence of what looks like a stone snake in South Africa, which may be the first human worship dating to around 70,000 years ago. Many archaeologists propose that societies from 70,000 to 50,000 years ago, such as those of the Neanderthals, may have also practiced the earliest form of totemism or animal worship, in addition to their presumably religious burials of the dead. Okay.
Right, and also the totemism, just to understand, does in a sense kind of represent socialism. Just so people understand, the two are maybe not directly, that they would not realize it, but it's the idea of clan.
Mm-hmm.
Totemism is extremely the idea of clan. When you hear the word clan, almost guarantee there's something totemism in it. Just the fact that you use that term or thinking that, well, we are, that's it. Yeah, got it. Don't even have to even keep finish. Now, sometimes even say tribe can also be this, depending.
Right.
It's lesser because also it depends on who English word, how they're choosing.
Right.
So maybe they're really just clan and they said tribe. They should have just said clan. That would be more accurate. But maybe it is actually a tribe and they're not referring to clan. But most of the time. But anyways, which also is to me non-anarchism, because it already says that these people are more important than other people. These are, in fact, my people humans. These are the
right.
And that can be a extremely socialist, wonderful land for the people living in this. And it can be the absolute hell for anyone trying to be on the outside, in a sense.
Right.
So I don't find that to be. So it's an odd, especially like I said, definitely when sometimes they say it's anarcho-communism, I go for that group.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
For their small community kind of thing.
Their experience of the small community, yes. Their belief of the larger community, absolutely not.
Right.
Or sometimes it can be. I'm not saying, but have you seen how absolute violent that some of those indigenous people are when you try to go near they don't even let you near to talk to them. They'll start shooting at you. I mean, they kill you immediately. I mean, they don't.
Right.
That
makes me think of
nothing close to I would call anarchism or welcoming or treating everyone, and certainly not So I you get what I'm saying. That certainly, but that's why I think you need to be careful or understand the layers of things sometimes.
Right.
So if I just said, oh well, they certainly are anarcho-communism. Well, that may absolutely be correct for maybe the person living in that little community. But if you ask them, well, how do you feel about everyone else? Like, oh, fuck everyone else. Oh, whoa.
Right.
Yeah. What would you do? He goes, I'd kill him. Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Then you're definitely not treating outsiders in that anarcho-communist way, right?
So that's what I think is important, even in some of these, when we look at ancient societies, like say Chattelhoyuk, I don't know that they would have treated everyone else that way.
Right.
They would have been super great. I just don't know how they treated others. So I think that it's nothing wrong with not knowing. And it's also understanding that, yes, they could have flaws. Our goal is not make that.
Right.
But just show that the nonsense that there was never that is nonsense.
Yeah. Like, I think if there's a couple themes that could come out of this project so far, is that one is that, like I say, each thing leads into the next. And that doesn't eliminate, like you say, animism leads into totemism, leads into shamanism. That doesn't eliminate the previous things, but it's still, it shows the evolution of it.
Yeah. It's human. It's culture. It just keeps evolving.
And the other thing is that, like, culture existed before capitalism.
Oh,
society worked in various ways for various years, way before capitalism was the system.
Yes. It is quite obvious, especially like I said, especially if you're going to limit just the experience of a person in a tribe. Most people until the 7,000 did well, in a sense, egalitarian in it.
Right.
So that doesn't mean no one did not do better or worse, because that absolutely is not true. But certainly at that time is where there's a real, because before that there's even multiple genders. Even in Europe, there's probably, I've read this thing, they believe about 5 genders that were in the people, or the belief sort of in general of the people in Europe before that time. And after that time, also you can see graves, totally kind of equal male and female, or sort of, but then it starts to be more male by 6,000. There's one grave, like I have a thing of, where he has more gold than the entire world at that time, all in one grave.
Wow.
One grave, more gold than anywhere in the whole world. And so at the time,
that's certainly not good.
Right. Well, and there's, and listen, and then there is I can't remember how many. I think there's 5 or something little like clay figure people buried that also have the like and the other 20% of the gold or whatever.
Oh, geez.
And they're not real people, so they're like mythical, some religious bullshit.
Right.
Presumably. I mean, I guess it could be ancestors too, which is still insane that you would give them all this gold. Still, to me, it goes to the imbalance. You can see the imbalance is really starting.
Right. Yeah, like I just watched a video on the Proud Boys, and one of their big things is that they will not apologize for white people being responsible for the creation of the modern age. And when we're doing this project, it seems just so apparent that the modern age couldn't exist without previous ages.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like we can't say, yes, the white people in Europe did this great thing, because that thing that they started with was already built on the backs of so many generations.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
So
oh yeah, it's totally true. Well, I always try to tell people too that they need to remember that there was no such thing as a white Europe.
Right.
Ooh, scary.
Yeah.
Well, because they always go, it's our land. I'm like, well, actually, it used to be brown people land, really, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, before your white people spread and took over and basically either bred or killed them out or pushed them out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And then you just call it yours. Oh, that's like Americans.
Yeah. It's almost like America carries on a legacy of colonialism. White supremacy.
Not almost like.
Yeah. It literally is. Yeah.
Yeah, it literally it does it not want to have things all of government bases all over the world. Does not. I mean,
Yeah.
I always laugh too when they say, like, "Are you for the war?" Like, you know what I'm for? People having a good life. I mean, and I'm for doing good things. If you said you're going to really do war and go help people that are actually suffering, that'd be different for me to think of a war being good. But that's some bullshit. Because if you were to help people that did good, you would have no friends in Saudi Arabia. Those people don't do good.
Yeah, they're what is it? Don't they have like a monarchy or
not only a monarchy, but I'm saying the fact that they kill you or whip you in public, and they do all kind of human rights abuses.
Yeah,
it's absolutely ridiculous. They see atheism as terrorism. It's
like
ridiculous.
I'm not a fan of China in a lot of ways, but American government talking about Chinese governments of human rights abuses while they're still dealing with Saudi Arabia seems hypocritical to me.
Well, once again, I don't know why you keep like this is the time where I usually bullshit about trying to be careful, and now you're trying to be careful. What the hell? Screw that bullshit. It doesn't seem like it. It fucking is extremely hypocritical. Yeah. And the fact that as soon as the fact, you know how disgusting it is too. I see in a general sense, just so you understand, that the United Nations, because it's a whole bunch of people at least agreeing. I always like when there's more people, more democracy to me, more involved, you know, and there's all kinds of colors and things. It always makes me feel there's going to be a little bit of a better chance that equality happens.
Yeah.
Not always, but the
better chance.
But the disgusting fact that shows how evil statism is because of all these nations, right? All these nation states in the United Nations, right? Standing up for human rights and then putting Saudi Arabia on the council? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, it is hypocritical, but worse than that, it's institutionalized hypocritical.
Yeah.
Which is why I say that shit has to go.
Yep.
I mean, keep reading.
I think we're all done.
Oh,
Yeah, we've caught up to the end of this episode.
Right on.
So
Yeah, so the like you said, the whole point of understanding totemism is that a lot of people are already doing it. That's the first thing. So I know it sounds weird. The fact of totem poles, it does relate to totemism, but it's just one factor of it. Like a small item could be a totem, like it, or something you wear around your neck, like a cross, like you're saying, is a representation of a spirit thing that you think connects you to a larger thing. But generally, that thing is genealogical, but it's not like they had DNA tests,
right.
So the thought went so because that's one person tried to tell me, oh well, blah blah blah, because it's genealogical. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Did they have 23andMe back then or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Seriously? No. So it's what they believed. They were told, like, you're part of the clan, or you're part of the thing, or you're part of a bird clan or something, whatever. You just thought that's what you are.
Yeah.
So does that mean that's really what you were? I mean, here's a clue. There's no such thing as spirit animals.
So,
and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to people that, are indigenous. I'm just saying it's not true. Christian stuff's not true. This other stuff's not true. And anyways, Christian stuff is still totemism. So that's always laugh when Christians are laughing at totemism. Like, yeah, you mean your shit?
Yeah. Religions shouldn't really watch when they're laughing at other religions.
Well, especially I was laughing. They tell me, well, Damien, I know a lot. I'm like, I guarantee it ain't as much as I know.
Well, I mean, sure, you can know a lot and still be wrong about this thing.
Well, true. Well, like the one person said, how well could they know Mother Goose and it still matter? Like, oh, okay. I mean, so when you know a mythology, just so you know a mythology. Well, and I always go, like, to me, if you understand religion, people, when they say, like, Damien, what would get you to believe? And I'm like, nothing. I guess a lobotomy, maybe? Right? Nothing? I mean, because just like you're starting, right? As you're learning with me, right? Are you not feeling more confident in your atheism than you ever were before?
Well, it seems even more obvious that everything is like just an evolution in, like you say, culture.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so obviously man-made or human-made.
And that's why I tell them, could I believe? No. Unless you produce absolute freaking magic and science, agrees and this is magic. I'm not on board, dude, because I've read the shit. I mean, I've researched and looked into history and prehistory, and I'm telling you, I could not be more confident. And like they go, well, are you skeptical? I'm like, when I started this, I was more skeptical. I absolutely am not. Zero.
Yeah. At this point, the evidence is too strong.
At what point do you not let reason take over?
Yeah.
I don't know how many. It's like evolution. Like when people go, well, are you confident that evolution, is true? I'm like, yeah, because it would be a miracle if it wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's so much evidence to prove it on so many levels in so many ways.
You become a person who is now a denialist if you stop believing.
That's what I'm saying. So in my experience, that's a very good point about denialism. At my point of how much I understand religion, for me to think it was real, I would be a denialist. Of seeing the culture. Oh my God, dude, the culture is so funny. That's what I'm trying to show in this thing. But I also want to show that it doesn't stay the same. So when people think it was always anarchism, I think really justifiably the animist only in Africa is probably it. Everything that got touched by totemism, and I'm not trying to single them out to attack them, but everything got touched by totemism got the beginning of all the problems. They would say it also benefited the clan. Yes, it did, to the exclusion of everybody else, which is the beginning of the problem.
Yeah, like it seems like, I mean, and maybe
Well, I shouldn't say before you go. I don't want to seem like that. It's not always exclusion of everyone else. Let me say that. Okay, because there was clans that worked with other clans, but it's certainly you could not say that every clan worked well with every other clan.
right.
And then there's a problem. So that's
Yeah,
what I need
right.
to just clarify. So I don't want to.
No, for sure. It seems like as religious type of beliefs kind of get more entrenched in various cultures, it seems like the kind of othering of other people becomes more prevalent.
Yes.
And therefore you have a less anarchic community. So.
Right. So I think to me, that's my personal thing is animism is more anarchist, and then totemism is the beginning of, I don't know what you want to call it, hierarchy, I guess.
Right.
The simplest way to put it, because it wasn't before, and now there's something different. And there certainly is the sacred and profane, and the us and the them, and there was almost none of that before. So there's a different thing now related. So that's all I'm trying to say. Not just trying to like put them down or something.
Right.
I just want to make sure, because I know there's some atheists, do a lot of derogatory stuff. As you know, I when I talk about prehistory, I try to tell you the facts and then just why it's not reasonable. That's all.
Right. Yeah, we're not here trying to insult people, especially like people from the past or
indigenous people now that can still be totemists. I'm absolutely not trying to do that. Other than it's not true, just like all the religions are not true.
Yeah.
So I don't pander to them either. But I don't want to act like I'm excluding, or like I said, or somehow like I don't like all those words primitive and all that.
Right. Yeah.
Like a bunch of thick horseshit to me. And barbaric, like the barbaric stage, you're like, oh,
okay. Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, it's like, but yeah, because once you start seeing that the culture, you start seeing it differently. Instead of guessing the culture.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is learning it.
Yeah.
Which is what I did. And actually, I told you, really, I started a lot more aggressive, even towards religion, and then got more tolerant. Actually, the more I learned, because then I'm like, oh, God, it's not their fault. It's all this culture.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Everyone talks about belief. Fuck, you believe because you were told to believe it. That's why 73% of everybody in the world has the same, religion as the one they're raised in. Like, yeah, because like as a magic.
Yeah, it's not because it's inherently true. It's because you were taught.
No, and it's like also we need to address that there are people, like I said, that are still going to be religious, regardless. And so I also, my goal, even though I'm anti-religion. Like, in other words, what I mean by this is I don't like it because religion pushes itself as true.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and then also it oppresses people like children, right? Because religion says no problem, religious freedom. I have no problem. Your personal, how you want to do. I'm an anarchist. Support you personally doing what you want.
Yeah.
The fact that you make your little mini me do the you want. How is that? Their religious freedom, or do we not care about their religious freedom, only yours?
Yeah, well, we care about making them believe what we believe.
Right. And I don't want that either. That's like I told you before. I don't push, in a sense. I mean, I talk about anarchism and socialism, and I believe in them, and atheism too. But I don't push them as like I try to make people believe them.
Right.
Like the history stuff. I try to present reasons why it seems damn logical to think the way I do.
Yeah. I never, as a parent, tried to make my kids atheists. I just didn't lie to them about what I believed.
Oh, and I feel my personal feeling is, like someone talked to me before, so I don't know how other atheists, so I don't speak for everybody. My own personal self. I don't have a problem with the parent that's religious saying, I believe whatever.
Right.
But the fact that you then expect that child to repeat that shit to you, and you demand it at the point of their terrorism, is absolute horseshit.
I have to go soon, but I have a personal story before I do.
Right on.
When I was 17 years old, I was going to church regularly because my parents insisted, but I had other interests. I played Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, and I got interested in like various other religious ideas. So I ordered a book from the library called Satanism and Witchcraft. And when the library called to say that my book was in, my stepmother answered the phone, and she was very upset. And she had me sit down with our pastor for, I don't know, a 2-hour conversation about how Satanism and Witchcraft is a bad book and I shouldn't read it. And it was even though before I was curious and interested, it was at that moment that I realized that this wasn't about me thinking and coming up with what was true. This was about me being forced to believe what they wanted me to believe.
So that's your story, right? My similar story, but my mom was, and my dad too, were both religious fanatics, Christians, but fanatical. I mean, like going in the streets in like white robes with red writing on the world is ending and shit. I mean, it's just total whack in a sense. That's all I'm saying is, I'm not claiming yours is that I had a normal Christian background, okay?
Right.
Even to Christians, my parents were cringeworthy, you know. Ooh, damn.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So anyways, my mom found out that I had bought a ColecoVision game, Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe castles and some, I don't know, like those dungeons or something. I don't know. But it's stupid. The graphics terrible, stupid little game. And she screamed for I don't remember how long, but it seemed like an hour or two. I mean, she was like, and if I'm trying to think, I think because I have to remember, but sometimes my memory about my childhood is not 100%.
Fair.
But I can't remember if she burned it, because the thing is, she did some behaviors like that and sometimes didn't. She was not like consistent. So I'm trying to remember. I think she burned the game, but they might have took it back. But I'm thinking she burned it because it was evil, because it had the Dungeons and Dragons.
Of course, yeah.
Then I do know. Then she went around the house and anointed, which is like rubbing her finger with oil around all the doors and window sills of the entire house 7 times.
Oh yeah, you got to seal the house from evil spirits. Yeah.
So because the video game, you know.
Right.
Video game is going to bring demons in the house. Yeah. So yeah, I was definitely raised in a very.
The world's a scary place when you believe in demons.
Dude, I actually, because of that nonsense at 15, did think I was possessed with demons because I liked sex. So I thought because I was sexual and I liked masturbating and I wanted to have sex with women, I thought, oh, well, then I'm possessed because it's not normal how much I want sex, right?
Except it totally was normal.
15 years old. No other 15-year-old feels like a sexual drive, right? No other 15-year-old.
Yeah, no.
Any kind. Yeah, right. Yeah, even girls, right? Or
of course,
whatever.
yeah.
The religious right feels totally safe with girls at 15 because they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're so not worried.
Jeez, eh?
Yeah, but so we had experiences. So religion is varied in the past. Also, people need to get that not all totemists were heavy totemists. Some, and it's just like, and also totemism was spread by shamanists in a sense. So to other more parts, it didn't get very far itself. In other words, it got like Europe sort of, and then everywhere else, or a lot of the other part, it got spread because other people spread it with their other beliefs, not because it spread purely in the sense by itself.
Right.
So that's why there'll be some anthropologists say there's no such thing as totemism by itself. You get my point?
Yeah.
Because and I would say, well, most of its spread was never by itself. It was even spread with paganism, never by itself. So I mean,
yeah.
I guess that's
so. I guess I see where they're coming from.
Yeah, I'm like, but to think it's not a thing though that started at a certain time, I do think that it's a behavior and a type of thinking that coincided at a certain time, and then it spread with the movement of people.
Yeah, and like you say, like it's not a thing that existed on its own, maybe. But it's
animism
a thing.
was already there, so because the reason I say this because if you go read, if someone was interested, they used to have a debate: was animism first? Was totemism first? Well, totemism requires belief in spirits, and thus animism. So it was. I don't understand how that was ever that hard to figure out.
Right. Yeah. But I think like even if they're saying like that totemism never existed without something else, it stands to reason that it's its own thing because it supersedes, it exists in multiple other cultures.
And this what they, and also like what if you didn't get to real quick was nowadays or at some point in time, so I do know it is old, so like in especially in just specifically in Australia, but there's other places, but there's like individual totemism and group totemism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm almost assuming that it started maybe in individual, because totemism. I know by 40,000 years ago there has to, or it would not has to be. It would seem that the reasonable thing is that some sort of a governing system is stopping people from having sex with their children, from men having sex with their girl children to produce babies. Is what I really mean. Because who knows what else could have been happening.
Right.
But there's a certain, by 40,000, there's a humongous drop, and it keeps staying sort of dropped, showing that to me there has to be some sort of culture, something beyond one person or one event. Something is keeping this happening.
Right.
So that's and one of the things would be totemism. Because totemism, especially group totemism, says don't have sex with family.
Right.
So it makes it, and you have to, in a sense, almost marry a certain way or certain things you can't do. So it's a group of behaviors, and like I said, even in the DNA, it shows at a certain time something happened where we started picking up group behaviors. So that goes back to, like, say, some form of totemism, like the in a sense socialism or whatever, saying we have to care, we can't harm a member of the group in a sense.
Yeah.
But individual totemism is not as particular about the family. It's not that in a sense that I'm saying that they do molest their kids or something, but there's less aversion to it because you could actually be, in the sense of the individual totemism, separate clans, even though they're your children.
Okay.
In that mindset, I'm not saying reality, but then again, see, this is what's really weird. People would say, "Oh, that's so weird." Yeah, but don't cultures see only male or only female as part of their lineage, and not the other one? So that's why I always laugh when they act like some of the things I bring up. It's just because I've been addressing something you don't think about. But it's not that you're not already doing it or think it's normal, and it's not really. It's culture.
Yeah, none of it's normal.
like what's normal is the Hazai. They're more normal. Where it's both male and female. Everybody's part of us. Yeah, that's way more normal, and that's not the norm. So society is not doing it normal.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I see as the totemism is really doing that. It starts messing with culture. It's the real kind of like, but it's not. It's wrong to call it primitive and stuff. They're still doing this. So it's. I mean, what do you mean? So it's still primitive? I mean,
right.
I don't see it as that. They're doing it by value judging. I'm doing it by the facts and how it's presenting itself. I'm not value judging. I'm just saying this is doing this. I think it's a more honest way to look at religion anyways.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Rather than, trying to root at the fundamentals of any particular thing, right? Then you can draw an evolutionary line and say, well, this is where this kind of came from.
Yeah, and when you do, like I said, I think it's honest to the facts, or it certainly is more honest than religion. Holy shit. Sure beats your stories.
Yeah, there's a tendency amongst atheists that I'm not a huge fan of, and that's like they take the most extreme, quote unquote, fundamentalist interpretations, and then they attack that as though it's the majority. And
Right.
sometimes it is,
yeah.
Sometimes it's not. But what I like this approach better, because then we don't have to worry about what interpretation we're going through. Right.
We're not trying to value judge these things.
Yeah.
What I'm not. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to show that it's human, because it's a fact. And then I think that alone. That's what I try to say. I don't promote atheism. I just give you the facts that are so reasonable that atheism is the fucking conclusion.
Yeah, that's right.
Duh. I mean, it's just like I said. Try to look at this shit and try to tell me that anarchism is not in animism.
Right. Right.
You read it, it sounds like you're reading from an anarchist pamphlet.
Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't sound that when you read Totemism. You don't think,
right.
Oh, that's anarchism. You think, wow, what the fuck?
Right.
This is not it's got some good things, but it's got some shit things too. It's like, ooh. Yeah. And I'm not, and like I said, not putting down the whole thing. I'm just trying to say that there's elements that are absolutely bad, but there's elements that are good. In fact, they're trying to use. So I'm just trying to give the honest approach. There are even currently ecological concerns where they are basically, I can't remember how to say it, but they're somehow interacting with indigenous populations on things like totemism, because they see like plants, animals as like part of family.
Yeah, yeah.
And they actually are doing it's helping. I guess in the long run, it's helping climate. They're doing stuff that's benefiting, And so I do agree. Think of this: if we can get everybody on this, no matter what you believe, wouldn't that be great? If everybody started caring about, I don't know, our air that we all
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about indigenous, the indigenous cultures that I know about, is that reciprocal sibling type belief that they have with nature. So then they don't tend to exploit it in the same way. They tend to have like we'll take what we need and we'll give what we can kind of. Yeah. So
that's a good thing. The problem is I don't like that they use, in a sense, magical thinking to get there. But I do agree. Just like animism too does that. So I agree with animism's like anarchism, but I don't like their spiritualism stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the magical thinking, but
but that's why I think it's always best to give the real approach too, because dude, how many people can attack me with a valid argument how I approach it?
Yeah.
Even religious people are like going, hey, he's got a point. Or they think, oh, well, Damien's good and all kinds of stuff and just wrong on this conclusion. Like, yeah. Oh, because magic is true. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that for me.
That's right.
But like I told you before, my ultimate goal, though, is not somehow the eradication of religion, although I'd like to, just because I like the fomentation or the production of reason, not because inherently I want to take away people's playtime.
No, that's right. I think that people would be better if they didn't have the magical thinking.
Yeah,
I think their lives would be better. I think.
Well, that's like why I worked. Dude, I worked years. I started in 2006 to do all this learning on the evolution of religion. And I didn't actually do it to teach everybody. That wasn't my goal. That was all totally personal.
Right.
I didn't believe. I lost faith in college. And so I became an atheist. But it's not like I trusted atheists. I didn't even know who fucking atheists were. And they're saying skepticism and this and that and all this. And I never knew and never heard of any of this shit. Didn't know anything about atheism. So it was personal for me to go, okay, They say religion's all bullshit. It feels like it's bullshit to me. I mean, I was totally an atheist, but I wanted to know for sure, because you kept saying, not you personally, but other people were saying they don't know and we'll never know. And there's no way we'll know about prehistory and all. And I thought,
that doesn't sound
feel
right.
Right? Right. So you get my thinking. I'm like,
yeah.
And you know this by looking and then couldn't find, and then you said this, or you just say this and you've never looked. You know, and they're like, well, that's too, everyone knows. And like, once again, who fuck is everyone? How do you know that? I mean, I hear it like, I was thinking, for people that are skeptics, that's a lot of claims.
Right. Not backed by evidence.
and they're not ones I hear it's hard. I hear no one's done it, or no one's done it adequately to what I would feel that's really going to expose it. Well, then that just means somebody needs to, not that it's not a doable.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I did. I first for myself just started looking, and I wanted the truth, and I still want the truth, and I still move by the truth. And so I just looked, and it wasn't even me that realized the connection about, like you were saying, how they're all kind of connect to each other. I wasn't. I was seeing them all over the place. That's kind of how anthropologists and stuff, archaeologists kind of see it all over the place. They don't see it as like this progression. But I was talking about the facts to my wife, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, it's all connected. And I was like, what? She says, well, isn't the blah, 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 blah. And I went,
that's really good.
Damn. Holy shit. I think you're fucking right. I said, you know what, though? I've been studying all this stuff separately. So once you said that, unlike most people, my mind knows that, oh, shamanism is over here and this is this. My mind started going and remembering, oh, and then this fact and this fact, because I'm an autodidact polymath. Not to be bragging, I know a lot, and it's self-taught in a sense. I have a large ability towards many skills in many areas. But anyway, so my mind was really fast, and I started remembering this and that and that and that. And unlike some people, and I've tried to put maps and show how it all, because I know it helps. But that's what I did in my mind. Bing, bing,
right.
Bing, 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 bing. Oh, oh, oh. So when she said it, I started thinking, holy shit. I think I know the time, because she didn't know the time. She just said this because of the things. And that was how I was talking. And then I said, yeah, this is probably this. And I went and looked at this fact. Yeah. And so I've honed up. Because at first I thought maybe it was 13,000 where, in a sense, paganism starts. But I think maybe it's a little bit lower. Maybe it's like 12. But I'm just saying that's just fine tuning. But I'm just saying that certainly maybe the elements start, but then it really kicks in. But so to me, I started at first getting this loose thing, but already. But so then it's not like I try to fill it in. It's just I kept learning stuff and then understanding it more. But what I really did myself also is I started old and just started learning backwards, or I guess it's forwards maybe. Yeah. I started, I'd say, 1 million years ago and started learning everything from 1 million years till 4,000.
Right.
All over the earth. That relates to human culture that could be religious. I mean, let's just
right.
Not every single fact, but I mean, but I mean, I guarantee way more than you'd think.
Yeah.
Enough to make my eyes feel like they're bleeding, you know. It's been like 15 years and I've done nothing else practically.
Right.
Why I said now I'm ready to do some anarchism stuff. But actually I'm glad, because I actually understand how real cultures relate to anarchism in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think better even than some people that were writing about stuff. And certainly not bigoted like some of those 1900s and 1800s people were writing.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So I really appreciate your time. I don't want to, overdo it. And I appreciate everybody, watch it. And next time it'll be on shamanism, which I see happening. And it's basically Russia, Siberia. I always say Siberia, but okay, Russia, Siberia. For me personally, that Russia is a country that is also Siberia. So, But they're also related. The shamanism went those both ways. So everyone, like, it relates to the graviton culture or the graviton culture, like graves,
Okay.
right? Grave makers or grave maker culture, sort of in a sense. They go into Czechoslovakia and bury the first shaman.
Okay.
20, I think it's 28 or 27, but they start in 36 in Russia on the border of Siberia, and they go also to Siberia and relate to the people out there. But anyway, so it goes both ways. But so that's what we're going to talk about next time, and how that and shamanism, to me, like I said, is a pushback. One of the reasons, just for next time, is Orca Nations is like 5 different cultures that went in that were related, that kind of blended. And that's why I think totemism, because they're different. But the Gravitins is more like one big push, and then push to Russia, and then push to Europe, and then spread out. Sort of
interesting.
Like unilaterally or whatever, like east and west. They went.
Okay.
Yeah, but they when they talk about them, they mainly talk about them for Europe. But a branch, in a sense, left what we call them, and it became something else.
Okay, interesting.
Out in Siberia, but that's only because it really, I think, relates. But and I know there's DNA that goes from one place that relates to them in Russia that also is DNA in that place in Siberia. So I know for a fact there's a human connection.
Okay.
And then they pick up behaviors that were totemistic and shamanistic from France and Europe and so yeah,
interesting.
I'm pretty highly confident, and then it goes to the Americas. I'm pretty highly confident that those things are connected. But we'll talk about it next time. But it's important to understand that, to me, like I said, it pushes back because, in a sense, I see animism is in a sense more female, let's say, more like giving and everything, and the other one's more dominant.
Okay.
And totemism is a new dominance, and shamanism I see as, once again, totemism is already here, and then it's new people coming from Africa again, all animist, the original, and they come in and they hit the totemists, but they are not. These days just spent a couple thousand years. These people are just coming in, so these people are purer animists than these people, so it creates this new thing that's more feminine again.
Interesting.
Sort of, kind of, and that's why I think also it relates to how all the first burials are women.
Wow.
All the shaman burials are all women, and I think it relates to this, and because shamanism, we'll go into it next time, but
sure, sounds good.
But my point is, I'm just saying. So I think that that's why my point was trying to say is, even in ancient cultures, the thought that culture was this straight line, I think is not accurate at all.
Right, yeah.
It was like jaggedy, but all right. Just want to make sure people understand that, like I said, it's way more interesting and involved, but it also, everything is actually, you're still doing it. So
yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, it's been great. Go ahead and plug yourself again.
Oh, yes. The Mind of a Skeptical Leftist on YouTube and all the podcast players. At Skeptical Lefty on the Twitters. So that's pretty much the best places to find me.
And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your help in doing this.
Oh, absolutely. It's educational and entertaining.
Right on. Well, I hope that it is.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, antitheism, antireligionism, Secularism and humanism. Axiological atheist can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudo-history, pseudo-morality, things that are found in religion. I support realism, axiology, of course, liberty, justice, ethics. I am also an anarchist socialist. I support anarchism and socialism, progressivism, liberalism, philosophy, psychology, archaeology, and anthropology, advocating for sexual, gender, child, secular, LGBTQIA+, race, class rights, and equality. So if you can guess from all that, I support or challenge that I have an eclectic variety of videos on a variety of topics. Please take time to check them out. As well as if you enjoy them, please give them a like. And don't forget to subscribe, as new things are on their way all the time for my channel.